Alright guys, so now I want to start to create our register form in our component. And one thing I've done is I'm running my npm run dev within my regular terminal just to clear up some room down here in the integrated terminal because we don't really need to do much else within it for now. So I'm going to go to my theme here and we want to go to register.html and just grab everything that's within the section of container. So this h1 all the way down to the ending paragraph here. So we're going to grab that, go to register, and just go ahead and replace that. Okay, actually we can't do that. We need to be within an element, so let's actually bring in a fragment. And then we'll change this div to fragments. Okay, and then we'll put everything within that. And if you're wondering why when I type in the beginning tag, the ending tag also changes, that's an extension that I'm using called auto rename tag, which is really cool. So I would definitely recommend that. So what we want to do here, let's first of all change the classes. So I'll go ahead and Control D. Let's grab all these classes here and let's change them to class name and save, and we should at least see the form. Okay, so there it is. And since it's a form, we need to have some component state because each input needs to have its own state. They also need to have an onChange handler, so when we type in it updates the state. All right, so we're using a functional component here, so we're going to use the useState hook. So we want to bring that in, useState. And we're going to go right above the return here and say const with some brackets. And our state is going to be form data. So basically it's going to be an object with all of the field values. And then the second thing we need to put here is the function we want to use to update our state, which I'm going to call set form data. And we want to pull that from useState, just like that. And if you're not familiar with hooks or the useState hook, basically this is going to be your state. Just like if you had a class, you may have state equals and then form data, and that would be an object with, you know, name and all that stuff. So it's pretty much like that. And then the second thing here, set form data, is like when you would do this dot set state and set state, and you would pass the new values in. All right, so that's pretty much what's going on here. Now for the default values, we put that right in here, which will be an object with a name, and these are all going to be empty to begin with, not email. Yes, email. Name, email, password, and password 2. Okay, so that's our initial state. Now I want to be able to pull the name and email and stuff out. I don't want to have to do form data dot name. So I'm going to just destructure here and pull out name, email, password, and password 2. Let's pull that from form data. All right, now we want to associate this first input, which is the name, with the name and the state. So I'm going to add a value of name, and then we need an onChange handler. If I just save this and I go back, I can't type in this field. Okay, and it's telling us up here that we need an onChange handler. This needs to be a controlled component. So let's go back and we're going to do an onChange. Now we could, the goal here is to call set form data and to update the name field in the state. We could call set form data directly, but I think that what I want to do is call a separate onChange function. So I'm just going to say, let's say e and arrow and then onChange and pass in e. Okay, and then up here we'll go ahead and say const onChange. And we don't even need curly braces because we're just going to call set form data. Now in set form data we want to change this state, right? So it's an object, so we want our curly braces, and we only want to change the name. So we need to make a copy of form data. So we want to use the spread operator. So that'll just copy what's in there. And then we want to change the name to the value of the input. So e.target.value. Now the problem with this is if I use this on change in any other field, it's always going to edit the name because I use that as a key. So instead of doing that, I'm going to take whatever the value of the name attribute. So in that case, it's name. In this case, it's where is it? Email, password. And in order to do that, to use that as a key, we can put in some brackets and do e.target.name. Okay, so that way we can use this on change for every field. So if I save that and we go back, we shouldn't get any errors. This is just saying we haven't used the variables, but now I can type in here. All right, so let's just add a value and an on change for the rest of these. So for the email, I'm just going to add required in here as well. I'm just using HTML5 client-side validation. Remember, we have server-side validation as well. So, oops, we need to change this to email. And then for the password, we'll do the same thing. We'll say value password, and then password 2. All right, so we shouldn't have any errors. We should be able to type in all these. So let's do a submit. All right, so for the form tag here, I'm going to get rid of the action. We don't need that. We're going to say on submit. Let's call on submit. And we'll go ahead and create that up here. And I'm going to use curly braces here. We need to prevent default since it's a submit. Prevent default. And I want to just make sure that the passwords match. So I'm going to say if password. And this is what's great about the useState hook is I can just access the state like from anywhere. I don't have to pass it in or anything like that. It's just available from this right here. And I can just simply update it by calling set form data or set whatever the state is. So let's say if password is not equal to password 2, then I'm just going to do a console log for now. Ultimately, we'll have an alert, but that's later on. So right now, we're just going to say passwords do not match. Else, then let's console log form data, okay? Because we have access to that state directly. So we'll save that, and let's go back. I'll just choose some pre-selected data here. And then let's do 1 through 6, and I'm going to mess up the password with 1 through 7. So passwords do not match. Let's match them. And I submit, and you can see we get the form data. All right, so that's exactly what we want. Now, let's see. We're going to want to register our user through a Redux action. However, we haven't implemented Redux yet. So I guess we could just try it without Redux first, just to make sure we can actually make a request to the back end and stuff like that. So let's actually do that in the next video.